So what exactly made me come up with the philosophy of texting kills attraction? Hi there, Harry Wilmington here, men's dating coach, and today you're going to learn why it is that I tell guys time and time again that texting a woman too much kills attraction. And I want to kind of take this back to when I was first really learning how dating worked, what it is that made me finally realize this lesson and resulted in me cutting my texting way down to the point where I can actually attract more women by being off the phone. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it to be able to get notified of these videos. We do them 7 days a week. Also, be sure to go to the website to check out my free ebook, Texting Like a Boss, which will give you key insights into how to text women and attract them in the right way. And also go to the website to click on the tip jar tab in order to support this show. So I bring this up today because I go on Reddit boards and other various dating boards to kind of look at the questions that guys are asking. And time again, one of the major questions that guys ask about is texting. Now, I'm going to read you some little snippets of stuff that I saw today. And I read this because, again, this is stuff that I, on average, see. Like, time after time, it's like no matter how many times I say it in my podcast or in these video casts, men keep trying to figure out how to text a woman or why it is that the woman that they're texting is losing interest and how to get her back. So I'm just going to read you two short ones real quick. So this first one, this guy basically says he went out with a chick on Sunday night, had a great dinner. They made out in the car, but didn't do anything beyond that. She messaged him when she got home saying she had a good time. And he said the same, that he didn't want to go home. And she said we could have hung out longer, but whatever. So then yesterday, I guess they went out Sundays. This message was on Monday, I guess. So it says yesterday she messaged a couple times in the morning, and then around noon I sent her a link to a funny video we talked about the night before. Since then, I haven't heard anything. Not over here freaking out about that. I have my hands full working most of the time, but just not normal for her compared to how she talked in the past. I get that it could be a million different things, but would you reach out after getting no response, or would you just let it sit? So, as I was answering this guy's question, I looked on the boards again and saw another guy with another question that involved texting. It went like this. The short version is it's a work colleague. She broke up with the guy after 25 years, so they're definitely a little bit older. She's a flirt and definitely wants to lay with him, and I only see her as a bang. Have been texting a little with mostly sex talk, and she is trying to sort out a sitter for her kids so she can come to my house to hook up, or if she can't be child-free, she wants me to come to her house. All that being said, other than a little intimate touching here and there, we haven't had the opportunity to bang yet. Problem is, this chick doesn't make that much effort to text me outside of work. I made 70% effort in texting and her 30%. So again, he's texting her 70% of the time, which means he's initiating 70% of the time, and she is only doing that 30% of the time. So his question is, should I do most of the pursuing up until I bang her, or is it time to pull back? Should I stop texting her and simply message her when I want to meet up for some fun? I have other options, so it's not a big deal. So here you have an older guy and a younger guy that are both having a similar situation in terms of they're texting, but they're not getting as much of a response back as they would like. And this is the mistake that a lot of guys make because they misinterpret a few things that women are talking about in terms of dating. For one, we hear that women want to be pursued. And so what guys have learned to interpret that as is, I need to pursue her relentlessly. I need to try to hit her up all the time. I need to be constantly in her phone, texting her, sending her messages, trying to communicate with her so that way she'll know that I like her, and then maybe she'll like me back. This is what guys do. This is why you might find yourself thinking or feeling nervous if you're not texting a girl all the time. And so I've tried to teach guys over the years. Initially, I said texting kills relationships. Then I realized it's not as serious as that, although that can happen. But really, it's that texting kills the attraction. And once it kills the attraction, that's when it can kill the chances of a relationship. Or if you were in a relationship and started over texting, then it can in fact chase her away. And so men think, well, okay, but then how am I supposed to attract her if I'm not texting her? And I try to tell you guys time and time again that the time that you're not texting her is a time she gets to think about you. It's a time she gets to talk about you to other people. And honestly, it's a time when her anxiety will build up and start to wonder if you like her as much as she thought that you did. which can then make her want to like you more because now she has something to prove. She has something to gain. She now has to work for your attention. At least she thinks she does. We know that if you like her, your attention doesn't need to be worked for, but women do want to feel like they have to work towards actually attracting you. Because if you're automatically attracted and just giving her the world, funny enough, they become suspicious. They don't trust it. It feels weird to them. And understand, before you, she dated other guys, and most guys are probably like giving her mixed signals at times or not letting her know everything that's going on. And also not texting her a whole lot and calling her a lot, which is making her wonder, does this guy like me? So, but I've talked about all that before. But I guess what I haven't talked about is how I came to this conclusion that texting kills attraction, and that by not texting so much, you can actually build it up. And so I kind of want to go into that story today, just because I say this, give this advice to you guys, but I want you guys to know that this all comes from my personal experience. This is stuff that I've tried out and done, and just by doing trial and error, I've discovered these things over here do not work, and these things over here do work to build women's attraction. So I'll make this story as short as possible, but it's pretty interesting. So I was a junior in college, and up to this point, I was actually ahead of the curve because I had started college when I was still in high school. I did a 3-week summer course at this college that I ended up going to, and so they transferred those credits or those classes to when I actually started there as a freshman in my freshman year. So by the time I got to my junior year, I was ahead of the curve in terms of how many classes I had taken, and so that'll become relevant to the story later. But anyway, there was this woman that was in my class, and I was a theater major, she was a theater major, we were on a theater program, so I saw her a lot, and she was a year ahead of me. Like I was a junior and she was a senior. But even with that, this girl and me would hang out consistently inside of class, outside of class. We'd hang out in the library. We'd eat lunch together. I got invited to her apartment a few times, so she'd make food for me and whatnot. And so up to this point, again, I was at the age of 20. This is when I was 20 years old. I was still a virgin, and I just was very awkward with women. I was an introvert, so I didn't really know at the time what that meant. I didn't know that meant that it took longer for me to get used to people, and that I might not be as fast at making moves if I wasn't too sure of what the situation was, because I spent my time overanalyzing everything. I'm sure you can relate if you're an introvert. So anyway, by the time I figured out that this chick liked me, I had waited so long to make a move on her that I ended up making the wrong moves. Like once my best friend at the time assured me that, oh, this girl likes me, I literally called her up and said, hey, so I just want you to know that I like you, thinking that if I did that, she'd be like, oh, I like you back. But the actual response was, oh yeah, I kind of knew that. And I was like, oh, okay. So at that point, I wanted to try to get her on a date, or she'd invited me to her apartment many times before. And there were several times where I went there and she was definitely like around 10 o'clock, and I was like, well, it's getting kind of late, oh my God. And at the time, I didn't know that was hints for me to try to stay over and do stuff with her, because I was still a virgin and still nervous. So I would just go home. So now that I knew that I liked her and that I thought that she liked me, I was trying to make those kind of moves, and it wasn't working. So what did I do? I started trying to connect with her on the phone. Now back then, this was when I was 20 years old, it would have been 2002. So text messaging wasn't a big thing, but there were still phones, and I had a flip phone that could do like T9 texting or whatever. So I do remember times where I would be trying to call her to see her, or I'll be trying to text her messages throughout the day to say, hey, how you doing? Hey, want to see you later? Hey, what's up? Whatever. And I just wasn't getting the same response back that I did prior to her knowing that I liked her. Like she'd be really short with me in messages, or she would take hours to get back to me. And I was just like, what is going on? Like I thought this girl liked me, and all of a sudden she's showing signs that indicate maybe she doesn't like me. Like, I don't know what that's about. And it really freaked me out, because I was just like, man, I thought I had this. Like, I thought I knew. Up to this point, I've been trying to date girls in college for like 2 years, and it was just very, very frustrating, because I would get dates here and there, but I never got any follow-up dates. Partially because I didn't ask, to be fair. I was really much nervous at the time, but also because I would take girls on dates, and even if the ones that I went out 1 or 2 times with, I try to ask for a second or third date, and they just either wouldn't answer their phone, or they just would be like, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I can't make it. Oh my God, whatever. Now I know those were excuses, but back then I didn't. So anyway, with this particular girl, I really liked her. And I remember trying to get her certain kinds of gifts, and I was trying to spend time with her, and just nothing was happening. Or when I would invite her on a date, I'd show up and she'd have a friend there with her ready to go. Like, I wasn't getting any kind of hints. So Because I was so ahead in my classes, I had the opportunity to take off a semester in my junior year to go travel with a touring play company. And so basically from January to May of 2003, I would be going around the country traveling. But more importantly, I would not be at school. I would not be having contact with this girl that I had a crush on. And so when rehearsal started, I would still make the occasional point to try to like email her messages. And at the time I was very big on writing messages and spilling out my feelings about people on emails and stuff because I was beta and didn't know what was going on and that I shouldn't do that. But anyway, so I was still trying to reach out to her and she wasn't responding back and I got really, really frustrated. At this point in my life, I was very tired of just not knowing what to do. And so now that I had 5 months away, where I'd only be around guys and I'd have no distractions from other women, I realized this is a good time to start studying up on what it is I needed to do in order to attract women. And so part of my lessons, it was good because I had guys I was going with. So there were 6 of us and 4 of us were straight. So I would go with the straight guys to clubs and I would see them like talk to women and mac them up and dance with them on the floor, then, take them back to hotel rooms and stuff like that. And I was just amazed. So that was part of my education was that. But the other part was trying to find different sources that I could research that were beyond the regular sources. Because there were a lot of books out there about, like a lot of these advice people give advice to guys that sounds very girly. Oh, you should like get her flowers. You should be more sensitive. You should, do all these things that basically look like you're begging for a woman to come to you. Okay. But these new sources I was looking at were sources that were saying things like, oh, like, be a little cocky and funny with her and, nag at her and, don't always be readily available to talk to her and don't always tell her everything about you. And some of this stuff to me, admittedly, at the time really sounded like bad advice. I was like, why would I not want a girl to know all about me? Like, that makes no sense. Like, if she's talking about she wants an open relationship, she wants an honest guy, why would I not be open? Like, that doesn't make sense. So that's an example whereby it's like, they're saying like, don't be so open. And then you come to find out like, oh, not knowing so much, by them not knowing so much about you, they have to keep asking you questions. And if they're kind of trying to ask you questions and find out more about you, it means that they're going to stay around longer because there's more of you to find out about. Versus if you just tell everything up front, now it's no fun for them because you've told them everything and now they just go on to another guy. So that's an example. But the big lesson I learned, at least one of the big lessons, was this whole thing about contacting women. Now, I grew up in a house where my dad died when I was young and I grew up around mostly women. So a lot of the advice that I got from them, while well-meaning, what I found was not helping in my dating life. And one of those things was things like you go on a date and then after the date, make sure you take her home, make sure she gets to her door safe. And then, when you get home, you want to text her and let her know that you got home safe and then ask if she had a good time and then try to either, start talking to her regularly, either phone calls or text or whatever, or emails. And you want to send her that stuff so that way she knows that you like her. And so that's what I would do. And what I found was when I did that, after about a week or so of decent back and forth conversation, it would start to dwindle down. Her answers to me or text back would be a lot shorter. And then when I would try to ask for dates, it suddenly just became so hard to get them to say yes to a date time. Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I got this thing coming up. Oh, I got class. Oh, I got work. Oh, I just can't make it. But they would never say when they could make it. I just knew they were saying that they couldn't make it. And I would keep trying to call them back like a few days later, a week later. And I couldn't get a date to save my life. So anyway, so what these news sources were saying was that I needed to have the audacity to actually wait between 5 to 9 days after a date to call a woman. And I just couldn't fathom that actually working. Like, wait, so I'm gonna go on a date with a girl, I'm gonna show her a good time, and then to show that I like her, I'm going to wait a whole week or more before I call her for another date? Like, that makes no sense. Like, it made no sense. I don't know how that was going to work. But also, I knew that everything I'd been trying up to this point had not worked. So I kind of thought to myself, okay, so what do I have to lose? Like, I'm not dating anybody right now for one. And obviously that is because there's been stuff I've been doing wrong. Maybe this is one of those things. So how can I test it out? So remember that girl that I was seeing that I had a really hot crush on, that I was writing emails to and texting even when I wasn't in class with her, now that I wasn't even at the school at this point? Well, I decided, okay, I'll test this out. I will make it a point to stop contacting her. As much as I like her, and I know, but we have a weird friendship now anyway. She's feeling some kind of way about me because I told her I liked her. So let me just give her space. And so that's what I did. So when I was on the road, I would email I was still in the point where I was like, okay, I want her to know that I'm contacting other people, but not her. But I would email other people at the school that were friends of mine just to say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Whatever. And there were people that were also in our theater classes. So I know she'd know that I was contacting other people, but I was not contacting her. So I was gone for like a month before we got back to the state where my school was at, and we had like 4 or 5 days off. So I decided to go down to my school and visit some of my friends. So when I went down there, I had a good time, and at one point we all went out to dinner, and this girl was there. And so when we were there, I went and just sat down at a table by myself, and lo and behold, she comes and she sits right across from me. And then pretty soon everybody gets there and we start talking, and then she starts kind of asking about the trip, and she's like, yeah, I noticed, I've been having a good time, I've been going here, this and that. And then she'd be like, yeah, I noticed like you wrote like, so-and-so told me you wrote them and so-and-so wrote them. Like I was kind of waiting for my letter, but I didn't get anything. I was like, oh yeah, sorry about that. I was just, whatever. I just kind of brushed it off. But I was like, it's interesting. She's saying that she wants to hear from me, and she's mad that she hasn't. That is interesting. After that visit, I went back to my city of location, and we continued on the tour. And for the next 2 or 3 months, the same thing would happen. We'd go out for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time. We'd come back. I'd go down to the school. I'd visit all my friends. I made it a point not to reach out to her specifically, but if I happened to be on campus, happened to be at the theater stage, and she was there, I'd say, hey, what's up? But I wouldn't make it any kind of point to like reach out to her specifically or try to go to her apartment or anything like that. I just made it a point to not be contact heavy with this woman. All right. So finally, after 5 months, the play ends. By this point, she's graduated, but she's still living in the same city as the school that we went to. And so at that point, I kind of reached out to everybody saying, hey, just, the tour's done. I'm great. I had a great time with this and that. So what happened when I did not contact this woman for 4 or 5 months regularly? Well, when the tour was over, she was the first one to write me back and say, hey, hope the tour went well, glad you had a good time, whatever. Hey, by the way, if you happen to be down near the school, you should come and visit me. We can hang out. And so at that point, I was kind of ecstatic, like, oh, wow, she's actually reaching out. This is great. But I still was like, okay, but like, don't make this a big deal. Just don't try to make any special appointments to go down there and see her. If you happen to have to go down there and do some things, then you will hit her up. So it just so happened that summer, I decided to help my uncle out. He did a business where he was selling a particular product, and I'd gotten an appointment to help sell that product down in the location near where my school was. And so I hit the girl up and I just sent her one text or something. I said, hey, I'm going to be coming down. It'd be great to see you while I'm there. She responded instantaneously. Okay, great. Let me know when you're done with your stuff and we can connect. So I go to my appointment to do my little sale, only to find out that the appointment is canceled because the person's not there or forgot about it or whatever. So I said, great. So I hit her up and say, hey, the appointment got canceled, so I'm heading over there now. She said, great. So I'm in a dress-up shirt and a tie. It looked pretty nice pants on. And so I drive up to her apartment. I go up the steps, and I knock on the door. And when she opened the door, I kid you not, she had on a full like lingerie outfit. Like it wasn't like see-through or anything like that, but it was like one of those, like it was a nice top. It was almost like a nice pair of like sexy pajamas. Like she had a nice top on, silk smoothie top, nice little shorts on for pajamas, and a nice little robe on. And I want to jump ahead because I don't want you to think anything happened, because again, I was a virgin until I was 23. When I saw this, my thought at the time was, this is awesome, but she said we're friends. She probably doesn't want me to make a move, and I'm too nervous to make a move, so I'll just act like this is just her leisurely wear for a day when she's home by herself. And I went in there and just talked like nothing was going on, and eventually we hung out for a little bit, and then eventually I left. And having done nothing, okay? So in hindsight, I was like, oh crap, that was my moment. I didn't take it. But the point of all this, I'm telling you the story, is because look, I went from contacting this girl on a daily basis, trying to get her attention by way of phone calls, messaging, emails, and it became so much that she was just not responding to me and didn't want to darn near touch me or be near me at all. And then when I took away that communication and laid back on the texting, when I did text her, you see that her interest started to build up and realize, oh, maybe why isn't he talking to me? Like maybe this guy is somebody I should have messed with, or did I do something wrong? Or like I gotta, now prove myself to make sure that I still got it. But the point is, it went from not getting any touches and texts at all to like she's in full on lingerie ready to do some stuff, all because I was able to apply a little bit of patience and not appear so needy. And this is what I try to get across to you guys, is that when you do things like over texting, or you're able to respond to her right away all the time and you don't take a break from it, this is what you come off as. You come across as a needy guy who's desperate for attention, who clearly doesn't have any other prospects, and that is ultimately not aware that women need a break from you in order to grow their attraction. And also, women have lives going on when they're not around you. You know, I've dated lawyers, doctors, teachers, etc. They have busy schedules during the day. Well, they don't need to be getting all these texts, and they don't have time to respond back to you because, you know, if you're just sending them a text about nothing like, hey, I saw this meme and thought of you, why is she going to respond to that in an urgent manner when she's at work? She's trying to concentrate on her job. She's trying to get a promotion. She's having meetings during the day. She's having lunchtime with her friends. She's trying to be where she's at when she's there. And you trying to supersede that by getting in with just a random text thinking it's going to do something to build attraction, it's not, which is why you need to treat texting like a loaded weapon. You use it for specific times, and then every other time you just leave it alone. So what I tell you guys is this, is that you use texting with the purpose, which is to get a date. Anything that you send her should be in the guise of, I'm trying to lead this towards an in-person date where you can do all the things you would do on texting in person, which is what she wants anyway, because she's going to be able to feel that a lot more and thereby build her attraction quicker than you trying to do it digitally. Now, there are some guys out there that will say, but Harry, you're older. We're a texting generation and blah, 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 blah. I have dated women at my age right now who were in their mid to late 20s and some early 30s and some younger than that. And all these women that I've dated, the same thing happens, which is I will hit them up to get a date. We'll go have a good time. And then I will leave them alone for 4 to 5 days before I text them again for a date. In the process of that, I usually hear from them before I get to them. And at that point, if they reach out to me, I do a little chit chat. Like basically I respond back to whatever they said and then said, hey, so we should do this thing on this day and time. I always make it a point of my texting should end with me setting up a date of some kind. If you were not doing that and you're trying to use text as a means to just shoot the breeze or just, send random memes and pictures, then you are wasting the tool that is texting. Because if you use it the wrong way, then yes, texting will kill attraction. And you need to learn that it's okay to just let the phone go. So don't fall for all this propaganda out there saying, oh, you need to be texting girl all the time. Because look at this, all these guys, and these are not just isolated situations that I'm reading you guys, okay? Guy after guy I see on various message boards, and I see me getting messages from saying, hey, I'm having a problem with texting. I'm trying to text this girl, and she might have been texting a lot in the beginning, but now she's starting to dwindle. And yet none of you guys see the same problem, which is that girls do not actually want to be on the phone texting you all the time. Like if you do a phone call, it's better because you have allowed amount of time, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, where you can just talk or whatever. But then once you're done, you're done. But when you're not in her presence, she has other things to do. And all this texting you're doing is not attracting her. Okay. So this is why I tell you guys, texting kills attraction. It really is a detriment to your game if you are relying on the phone as a means of building attraction. So if you don't believe me, try this. Just try it once with the next girl that you come into contact with that you like, okay? Is that you take her out on a date, show her a good time, and then make a commitment to wait a minimum of 3 days. I tell you guys to wait 4, but if you're new with this, wait a minimum of 3 days before you hit her up for another date, okay? And I know a lot of you guys might be thinking like, well, what if she gets mad at me, this and that? I have yet to have a single woman ever respond negatively to me waiting to hit them up for another date. I've waited as far as 2-3 weeks. I've waited as long as like 10 or 11 years to reconnect with a woman. And all the responses are the same, which is, I'm so great to hear from you. Hey, let's go out. Okay. Only a woman that has like either really bad self-esteem or is just kind of like a person that pops off is going to be like, oh, you waited for 3 or 4 days to call me out while you're playing this and that. Because the reality is if a woman had a good time with you and she wants to date you, it won't matter when you hit her up she's going to be just glad that you hit her up and ask her for the date, okay? So take that to the bank with you guys, is that do not be afraid to let the phone go. Only use it for texting or for a date. Otherwise, guys, it's just not worth it, and it's actually ruining your chances with women in the first place because texting kills attraction. Now that you've heard from me, I'd like to hear from you. In what other ways have you found texting to be harmful? If you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment down below, or you can write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Are you ready to learn killer icebreakers that build attraction with women on dating apps? Go to introvertdatingsuccess.com right now to check out my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps Without Using Sleazy Pickup Lines, which will give you key secrets to being able to attract women online the smart way. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video, and check out new videos and new episodes 7 days a week right here, as well as wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, check out the other awesome episodes on this page so that you too can learn how to attract women as your introverted self while still getting your alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.